I remember being dragged to an Elvis impersonation show every time I was there by my mother or my aunt. I had to go with my cousins and shit. And as a kid, 8-year-old kid, you're like, well, I don't want to see the real Elvis, let alone a guy pretending to be Elvis. Yeah. But there would be bitches stepping on bitches' necks to get, because I guess Elvis in his act had scarves, many scarves, like white scarves, almost like towels, but they were made of a different material that he'd have around his neck, and he'd be like, wise men say, and he'd put a scarf on and then take it off and whip it in the crowd, and chicks would go ape shit trying to get the fucking scarf. So, all right, the real Elvis does that, and he would do, maybe you get 5 or 6 scarves during I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. But that's the real Elvis, so you could be like, fucking Elvis sweated on this and touched it, and it was his. You're a great adventure, and some dude's pretending to be Elvis, and he's doing the scarf thing, and people are still trying to get him. Even at age 8, 9, I was just like, what are you, retarded? He's not even the real thing.
They're not even scarves, like, blessed by Elvis.
If you saw this dude who pretended to be Elvis in the parking lot, and he was just like, do you want to see my dick? You'd be like, ew, call the police. Like, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, it's fake Elvis. I never understood that fucking scarf thing. Anyway, I'm Kevin Smith.
And I'm Scott Mosier.
And we're really bugged by impressionists.
Today's hour is dedicated to
my beef is
toppling.
That used to be Lenno's thing. My beef is. Don't tell you my beef is. He's past that. He doesn't do that shit
We're just secretly doing it so it can break out in some of our favorite
Totally. It's like it's the impressions episode of SModcast.
I've been reading. I've been reading different things.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a book that I kind of started, and I haven't gotten all the way through, but it's actually was a gift from my wife, and it is called On the Art of Cinema, which pertains to what we do.
Yeah, is kind of related to our field. And who wrote it? Is it Orson Welles? Is it Steven Spielberg?
It is Kim Jong-il.
The South Korean? North Korean
dictator.
As depicted in Team
the
America?
Leader of North Korea, yes.
The crazy little fat puppet?
Yep. Who succeeded...
Who's like, fuck you, Hans Blitz.
Yeah. Who succeeded his father, Kim Il-sung.
He wrote a book about film?
Well, he loves movies. He does love movies. He loves movies a lot.
Do you think he's ever seen one of ours?
I don't know if he has or not.
If you're a cinema lover, you'd imagine you'd watch as much as possible.
A little bit of indie cinema.
You might have watched about 10 minutes of Clerks and been like, these suck.
These doesn't do what I say in the book.
Is he a Rotten Tomato approved critic? Will you
I don't
find
know if
a
he
review
is.
from Kim Jong-il
That would
on
be
Rotten
awesome.
Tomatoes? It would be. I'd read that review, but I'd read it first just to be like, what's he think?
Oh, shit!
This make me want to bomb America back to a Stone Age.
A film without music is incomplete.
There's a revolutionary notion.
Films without music and song hardly deserve to be called films.
So does he mean musicals or just music and song in general?
Just music and song in general.
Interesting. I guess he hasn't watched a lot of independent cinema.
No. Well, he thinks it's a play.
Without music, it's a play?
Yeah, without music, he's just like, put on a play. You're putting on a play.
They're putting on a little show. It's like Little Rascals, but even they sang.
Throwing in their 2 cents, it's like, sometimes it's not even good or bad. It's just like, I want to go away.
I don't mind somebody throwing in their 2 cents. I hate when they fucking enforce it, though. Like, because you'll always have people throwing in their 2 cents. At the end of the day, you're like, yeah, that was really interesting, and you spent the time telling me that, but I don't fucking respect you, so I'm moving on. Goodbye. But when they're like, no, you have to, that's when it fucking loses its luster. We have been very fucking spoiled in as much as we've been able to do exactly what we want and get away with it. And there's always somebody to answer to some degree, but Harvey and Bob have been generally pretty lax in terms of, like, even what you do, people like, keep doing it. We're not going to fucking force it down your throat. Like, all the Harvey Scissorhands things you've ever heard, we've never really been on the receiving end for in a drastic, bad way.
Bumps on Dogma.
Bumps on Dogma, but not in as much as, like, the dude took the picture away and fucking cut it himself. And even in production or even in casting and whatnot, we've been very, very, I would almost use the term spoiled, which is great. That's why I love it so much, because it's like what I'm putting out there, I love each and every one, even though people are like, oh, Jersey Girl sucked. I love that movie. It's exactly what I wanted it to be, you know, to some degree. It wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be because it was much longer at one point. But in I don't know if it's the same for you with the re-edit jobs, but on Reaper, it wasn't like I was not spoiled. Suddenly there were parameters that you have to work within, whether it be, hey, this is a network show so people can't curse, so you have to find creative ways to fucking have somebody, you know, shout an expletive or something like that. Or whether it be because they're like, hey, you have to cast this person. Like, this is not, it's not all your fucking choice. And so I don't like that nearly as much. I'd rather go back to, I'd rather keep doing what we do, which is like, somebody gives us money, we go off and do something, and then we come back, we're like, here it is. Surprise.
Yeah. Well, it starts off that way. Like right now, you know, I'm basically left in a room all by myself, and I can kind of like, you know, generally like I get to start from scratch. And but then when that's over, and it's like, and I admit it, I don't like, you know, they're paying me and stuff like that, but like once the notes come in, and it's not even like I said, it's not even a matter of like, oh, this is a stupid note. It's just like, I don't. Once it becomes about doing the notes, like I'd rather split and have somebody else do it.
Because anybody,
which is not being an editor.
No, not at all. But anybody can do the notes. Anybody can execute the notes as long as you know the software. You can do it. What's more fulfilling is when you're bringing something to it, where you're like, if it weren't for me, this wouldn't be as good.
Well, when you sort of take a scene and you smash it and then build it all back together, and you're like, it's funnier. Or it moves quicker, or it sort of does this or that. It's like once, you know, or the emotional impact of this moment is now stronger. All that stuff is like, you know, it's I have a lot of fun like when I kick back after I've done like a scene, and then you hit play and you watch it all the way through, and you're like, that is better. Like that is better. And like so,
you made your mark.
Yeah, like I like that feeling. But then once it's like, you know, the notes are. You know, and the notes can get vague where it's like, well, what about, you know...
Can't this be better?
Yeah. Never get quite... It's
can you make like, this movie funnier? I mean, and at the end of the day, you're like, hey, man, I can only work with the fucking tools that I'm given.
Yeah. I mean, there's like the expectation... The only times when the expectations are sort of like...
like, we're going to give you this, and you're going to turn it into Borat. And you're like, all right, well, first you need to give me
Borat. Give me all the Borat footage, and I will turn it into Borat. But sometimes the expectations are off compared to what you can do, where you're just like, look, I can make it better, but I can't, you know, it's tough to make it like a whole new movie. It's like I'm still working with the same material that everybody else was. You know, I'm just approaching it a different way. Like I'm laying it out in a different way. But, like, it's not like there's a bin with all this footage that I open and I'm like, why didn't you guys use this bin marked funny?
Hey, how come you guys left the funny bin closed, man? I think this is the answer to all your problems. You're so smart, Scott Mosier.
You're worth every dollar.